Sunshine, sunshine, ladybug's awake. Clap your hooves and do a little shake. Tragedy never understood why Queen Miyamura Cadenza Equestria Avalon always said that nonsense whenever she saw her. She didn't turn her flank to her like the first time that left her open. It seemed vaguely familiar, but her master told her never to think about it, so she simply didn't. Avalon, the kingdom of the changelings that stood for 500 years, burned. White trees and their golden leaves crackled in the flames, green grass became a carpet of ashes, and flowers of love were reduced to cinders. Please, Twilight Sparkle, isn't there anything left of your true self at all? There is no such thing as a true self, Your Majesty, Twilight said, the other 5 in formation around the unicorn. All right then. We were the closest thing we had to sisters. I'll wake you up, I swear it! Less chatting, more killing! Fluttercrew leapt at the alicorn, blades on her hooves and wings. 3 spikes rammed into her from different angles, claws and fangs flying, knocking back the element of chaos. Tridodash caught her and placed her down, staining her forelegs red. The real spike, hovering in the air a mile off, gasped slightly through his muzzle straps at the sight. Master Discord shifted his weight on top of him, watching the whole scene through opera glasses while eating nachos. Curse, don't they know blindsiding someone is only fair when my little princess does it? The changelings shifted to their true forms, their white carapace gleaming in the flames of what had once been the Everfree Forest. I told you all to evacuate, Sting, Queen Cadence said lowly, more like a mother questioning her child than a ruler reprimanding a subject. Everyone else is safe, Your Majesty. You should obey your queen's orders without hesitation or question, Twilight admonished the changelings. We love our queen, and we won't abandon her, said one of the other changelings, bending her butterfly wings and lowering herself to the ground with a snort. Not even to you. Especially to you, said the last one, narrowing her deep blue eyes. We love her more than the sun and the moon, all 3 mares voiced together. Come on, Tridodash almost begged. We smashed the sun heartstone thingy or whatever. Mine, went Rare agreed. You've got nothing left. Avalon no longer exists. Just leave Queen Cadence and save yourselves. Morons, the changeling queen isn't just a queen. She's mother to all changelings, Sting snapped. As long as Queen Cadence lives, Avalon lives. No, Morning Glow, the queen said. As long as any of you live, Avalon lives. You can accept love from others now instead of just taking the love I've given you, like your predecessors. You've grown into something better. You can make a new Avalon, a better one, to live in with those you'll protect. That's the most gloomy and dark thing I've ever heard, Lilac whispered. Sounds like the same parasites to me, Inky Pie snapped. After 500 years, they're still the same emotion suckers. You nag, you, began Sting before Cadence interrupted her calmly. The flames continued to burn, the immortals not caring about the smoke and the changelings simply enduring it. The flaming meteors Discord had rained down on the land otherwise immune to his magic had been endless, and putting out the fire of one only encouraged another 5 around it. There is a difference between parasites and symbiotes. I think you once understood that, Queen Cadence said, every word, every second delaying the attack from these once pony monsters. She looked to Twilight sadly. Have you really stopped learning, Twilight? You used to love it so. I am learning only what I need to learn. Cadence looked disappointed. That saddens me greatly. Look, you held out against Discord for 5 fucking centuries. You gave ponies somewhere they could hide in exchange just for loving your subjects. But it's over now. Just submit to Master and I'm sure he'll be merciful. Discord put on his sunglasses and called out with his megaphone. Nope, definitely gonna torture her orally if she gives up. Sorry, Dashie. Trader Dash's face fell. Twilight Tragedy said, if you had simply replaced your heart with a stone, it would have been in the safest place imaginable. I'd have to have given up a part of myself that I'm not willing to surrender. You've replaced your hearts with the elements of chaos, and it's cost you everything you were. Lilac hid her eyes behind her hat. Trader Dash looked down in despair and self-loathing. These changelings will devolve back in the sociopaths they were before you. You've accomplished exactly nothing in 500 years. From nothing to nothing, creation and destruction evens out to 0, the Tragedy said calmly. If you really believe that, then I'm sorry, Twilight, Queen Cadence said softly. Don't listen to them, Your Majesty! We'll never be the monsters our ancestors were! Your ancestors were slaves, Ladybug, not monsters. Never confuse the two. You saved us! I merely gave your ancestors a second chance every pony deserves.
My little pony, my little pony. Ah, my little pony. Their friendship was bright as could be. My little pony. Of course that was until they met me. Broken loyalty, after it's done. A greed-filled heart, not to everyone. Spreading cruelty, was an easy feat. And tragedy makes it all complete. I have you, my little pony. Don't you know you're no longer very best friends?
Cadence looked down at Chrysalis. Why? The love within the changeling queen spent, she slowly broke apart into tiny black ash as her body tried to starve off the end by consuming itself. Chrysalis stood and faced her eye to eye even as cracks appeared in her legs. Her voice was hoarse as she spoke. Since dawn of memory, we have cowered in the shadows of history, feeding on you cattle and retreating like criminals in the dark. Our wings dissolved into dust. Our nests hidden like some unholy shame, our own history forgotten, our true faces forever masked. We tire of this hollow existence. We deserve a nation of our own! One of Chrysalis's legs broke off and shattered when it hit the ground. Chrysalis glanced at it in a moment of fear, but glared defiantly at the alicorn to the end. Her royal guards lay already broken around them. Your eyes. Why are they different? What? Those were the alicorn's last words to her? The paintings of the previous queens in the hallway had the same eyes as the rest of your swarm. Why are yours different? The thing broke off. I wish I knew myself, cattle. But I know one thing. Those fat slugs were never family of mine. You're all alone. Clop off, cattle. I won't die with your pity. By now, the only thing holding her body together was the queen's own willpower. Cadence was almost impressed. Discord has left the world with love nearly non-existent, and what love there is can't be used by your people to sustain yourselves. I came here hoping to help. Cadence's eyes widened. You attacked me so I would kill you, didn't you? I was first hoping I could dominate you. Maybe you could have fed the entire swarm yourself, made us powerful enough to put an end to the mad monster and take Equestria for your own. Better death in battle than crumbling to dust while ruling a dead Shadow King of dying tribes. I leave it all to you, little pony. Chrysalis gave a laugh that turned into a hacking cough as her chest cracked and began to collapse. She lunged at Cadence. The Alicorn braced herself but was stunned when Chrysalis embraced her. A flash of light and the changeling queen's body was ashes on her coat. And Cadence's eyes shrunk to pinpricks as she suddenly remembered another life, a realm beyond this one. Celestia and Luna, not her aunts, but her sisters, and two forces that had been her parents before the ones she knew and loved. Draconiqui, a war beyond wars, hugging Rhoda Fortuna as the goddess of fate cried over her torn-off wing. Justitia's mask of the iron-hearted warrior cracked from tears as she carried Curus's chariot behind her, her brother forcing his portfolio, his entire being into her rather than have Hag devour him. The Alicorn dropped her barriers surrounding the entrances to the royal chamber. The changelings swarmed in, stopping in awe at the goddess before them, sensing something strange about her, something familiar. She spoke in the royal Canterlot voice for the first time she could remember. I am the 14th Arcana, Mia Mora Cadenza Equestria, concept of music and harmony, princess of bonds and joy. Queen Chrysalis Capipia Avalon is dead. What say you? The black insect creatures looked at each other, confused compound eyes looking into confused compound eyes. Horns meant for stabbing rather than magic dulled and cracked. Finally they bowed and hissed in their own language. Long live the Queen of the Changelings. Long live Queen Cadence. And long live you all, except the love of your queen. Light shined from her horn. For the first time ever, your people were given what they always had to take. I just gave them a chance to become more than what they were, to evolve. I couldn't be more proud. Cadence looked at Twilight. You believe that creation and destruction balances everything to zero, but others believe destruction is a chance for a fresh start from zero, a second chance to rebuild what was lost into something better than it was before, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. If you really hold the other side of magic, shouldn't you know that better than any pony? This is boring, Angry Pie hissed. More than that is stupid. Why aren't we killing her already? Are we waiting until we're fighting in the field of ashes? Fluttercurl snapped. Let them have their melodrama, young mare, Discord called out, drowning a 2-liter bottle of soda in one gulp. I brought plenty of videotape. Cadence gritted her teeth. Ladybug, Morning Glow, Sting, assume my form. Yes, your majesty, they echoed and were engulfed in blue flames. Wow, this is gonna be an original fight, Flowerjack droned. You think I can't pick up tells from decoys? Urgid asked, drolly sounding insulted. My subjects, what am I to you? Sting shouted in Cadence's voice. You are the light in our darkness. Morning Glow said, you liberated us from slavery. Ladybug whispered, you're our mother. All of us. Ladybug. From this day forth, your name is Princess Miyamori Cadenza Equestria Avalon. What? Morning Glow and Sting said together, then looked at their swarm mate in awe. Her horn glowed briefly blue before the aura shattered and turned to yellow. Spike blinked a mile away. What? Dragon Brain needed reboot. Discord lowered his sunglasses and narrowed his eyes. What's this now? Tragedy kept her mouth shut in confusion. Huh? Did she just give away? My head hurts! Vergrid held her skull. Did she just... Turdash stared. Angry Pie felt nothing. Fluttercurl narrowed her eyes. Well, that doesn't make a lick of sense, Flowerjack said. Your Majesty, why are you... Ladybug began. The changelings will need a new queen no matter how this battle turns out. Sting, Morning Glow, take your princess and ensure she escapes from here unharmed. Invisible Pain, the other two changelings said, Yes, your Majesty. No! Ladybug cried. That's a command from your mother. Ladybug lowered her head. Yes, your Majesty. I am not your queen anymore. That is your position now. Don't worry, Ladybug. Even if you won't be able to see me, I promise I will always be walking alongside me. Now go! Morning Glow and Sting took the princess and vanished in a swirl of blue and yellow flames, who knows where, knowing better than to risk flying away and become tempting targets. Let me go, you moron! Fluttercurl backhoofed Trader Dash. They have their backs exposed! Master didn't say attack yet. He said attack after he rained fiery death down on this loser never whatever forest, loser! Lyrejack was holding Angry Pie back as well, knowing her broken eye socket would regenerate quickly enough. Don't worry, Discord called out. I have all the cameras in place now for the blooper reels, the DVD release, and the making of. Now, my young mare, kill her. That plate time! Fluttercurl flew sideways. Well, I guess the rest of us can just hang, and the rest of you too. At last! Angry Pie roared and charged head-on. Harmony, Cadence whispered, her banter to Discord lost under the assault of 6 fighters with 500 years of experience. A darling regale you with matching horseshoes, mine! And diamond dust, all the diamond dust! Rugged actually gave herself a short rub in the ashes as she charged at Cadence, still carrying the remains of the artifact with her telekinesis. Twilight tried to never understood why, though Rarigreed saw rocks as precious gems, she still saw regular golden shoes for what they were. What are you waiting for, my little Lyrejack? I've got no reason to fight anything. You've got nothing left to take from me. Nothing. Is that so? What do you think will happen if Cadence reawakens Rarigreed in my Twilight's memories? Care to guess? The full, awful truth of the awful things they've done. Realizing the monster they've become. Or do you want that? If you do, maybe I'll just do it right now. I'm going, Master. Good pony. Trader Dash fidgeted, the last to move. You know, Dashy, there's a small chance that if you sit out this fight, your group might lose. Maybe I'll need to find 6 other emotionally crippled or insane ponies to be my gophers instead. Maybe some of those hippogriffs will make better holders than you. After your friends have disposed of, and I finished violating the minds of some other innocent ponies. And if Cadence beats you too, then there goes my magic, and Sky Ocean and all the sea ponies in it will fall, and Trader Dash moved like a streak of light towards Cadence in a zigzag pattern, tears briefly in her eyes. Twilight, I'm so sorry, Cadence whispered.
Ponies of darkness, ponies of darkness, the world is in your hooves. But I will fight until the end. Servants of chaos, discord of chaos, don't follow your command. But I will fight and I will stand.
In a blur, Angry Pie punched down on Cadence's head, but connected with the forest ground instead, kicking up a cloud of ash and cinders that obscured her vision, and was left standing in an impact crater. She shook her head, the queen's words resonating in her head, making her feel dizzy. Where is she? Pow! Before the dust even cleared, a hoof stomped on her from above, leaving her in a pony-shaped impression in the ground. So much for that sixth sense of yours I heard about. Please, remember. Cadence touched her horn to Angry Pie's head. The gray and red mare screamed like an animal. Her eyes became lifeless dots as her body fell over sideways, rigid. Her face froze in a hateful scowl as gruel slowly came out of her mouth. Even her limp rear leg held its pose. Wind of blades! A flurry of gripless edge weapons whistled through the air at the queen before she countered with a powerful wind of her own, knocking them off course. Fluttercurl felt the words resonate in her ears, breaking her concentration and allowing Cadence to dive through the opening right at the yellow Pegasus. Cadence drew upon the magic of her concept and managed to stab her horn into Fluttercurl's shoulder as she continued to sing. As Fluttercurl shook her head to clear it, the rainbow-colored light spread, leaving cold, lifeless stone in its wake. Damn it! Fluttercurl snarled, and with her other forehoof, she shattered her stone shoulder and foreleg and dropped as Cadence flew over her horn now holding nothing. Fluttercurl hissed as bones and muscle grew as fast as they could to replace the petrified parts of her body. Discord gritted his teeth at the sight. Tragedy teleported next to the completely stiff Angry Pie and touched her horn to her chest. Sparks, the killer of Pinkie Pie's old element of harmony, spread over the angry mare, who blinked and drew in a breath, then stood up and instinctively punched the nearest thing to her, which was Twilight. Thank you! Angry Pie spat out. You are welcome, Twilight answered tonelessly. Trader Dash created a sonic dark boom that kicked up a spear of ash as the burning trees were knocked off their roots, many grateful to be put out of their misery, all silently cheering the alicorn on. Cadence caught Trader Dash with a barrier spell and telekinesis, magically enhanced her wings above her air, and was pushed through the air flying backward from the force of Trader Dash's head-on impact. Finally, she managed to throw Trader Dash above her as her enchanted song broke the Pegasus's focus for the moment she needed. The two became zipping lines in the sky above the burning trees. A flash of blue flame, and Morning Glow appeared and shouted, I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I couldn't just... A purple beam of light destroyed one of her wings from nowhere, and she began to fall. Your Majesty! Cadence created a flash of white light to blind Trader Dash and dove for her subject, who turned into Lyrejack, who used both her back legs to buck the alicorn in the snout hard, cracking bone and drawing blood, knocking Cadence back. Lyrejack fell to the ground with a thud, creating a plume of ash as she fell on top of a burning tree that scorched the skin off her back. Thanks for the teleport, Twilight, Lyrejack coughed out, her spine stitching itself back together. You are welcome. Trader Dash recovered her sight and sonic dark boomed Cadence in the back, sending both down into the ground below, which created yet another crater. Before the first specks of ash hit the dirt, a Cyan Pegasus came screaming out of the debris, carried on the point of a massive beam of light blue magic that made her a dot in the sky. She began to fall straight down, blubbering like a baby, mumbling apologies to the long dead ponies. Cadence brought up the barrier from all sides even before she sensed the swarm of fireballs coming from one direction, a fleet of edged weapons from the other. Within seconds, pieces of wood flying at twice the speed of bullets hammered into her shield from yet another direction. Gah! Angry Pie, ignoring the attacks that accidentally hit her, leapt on top of Cadence's barrier and began to kick, punch, and even headbang against it, causing the ground under Cadence's hooves to shake. Firejack, meanwhile, made a beeline for Trader Dash, catching her before she could crash. She knew Trader Dash would regenerate, but that was beside the point. She hesitated for a moment, looking back to the battle with a mix of emotions. As Trader Dash blubbered, Firejack whispered, "It's alright, it's fine, everything's just fine, nothing's bad, nothing's wrong, nothing hurts, nothing's wrong, you ain't got no reason to cry. You're a big tough pony, it's alright." Firejack stroked Trader Dash's mane as she shuddered from the horrible, horrible truth Cadence's magic had hit her with. Cadence had no intention of staying pinned down and forced her magic into the ground, using the ashes as fertile soil. She grew several trees from forgotten nuts in the ground, silently apologizing for using them this way as they bravely gave up their brief lives to absorb damage. A growing branch impaled Angry Pie while the magical music distracted the earth pony. The mare hissed and snarled as it grew, pushing her away from the top of the barrier. She broke it off before it grew much inside her and ripped it bloodily out of her. She landed on her able rear leg and hissed to herself, gasping for breath and waiting for her lungs to start working again as the massive wound tried to close itself. Cadence wasn't prepared for when a different colored version of her spell blasted through the trees and rocketed off her still unbroken barrier. Cadence ended the spell and did a rapid succession of random teleports to throw off her opponents. "It's nice to see you can still learn new spells on the fly as fast as ever. There's no magic I can't copy," the expressionless Twilight said, her bone tearing some semblance of pride. "So you admit you learned a spell your master didn't tell you to learn?" "It is what I needed to learn." A stone Pegasus flapping its wings in an imitation of actual flight telekinetically burst out of the ground and tried to tackle Cadence, who swiftly dodged it. Two more stone Pegasi were lifted out of the ground and came to attack her, mimicking different martial arts techniques. "Onyx Built, Swift Wing, Thunderflash, show her what she's got!" Reargreed shouted from atop another stone imitation Pegasus as she magically raised it. She'd had 500 years of practice, but so did Cadence. She felt a flying dragon kick give her mane a close shave and stabbed a golem with her horn, hitting it with a blast of massive cold and then a blast of heat. A moment later, the stone Pegasus blasted apart. "Swiftwing!" Reargreed cried out in horror. "Come back to Mommy, sweeties! Mommy won't let the bad mare hurt you!" The golems gave the illusion of flying back to their mother via Reargreed's telekinesis. "Why didn't you get a shot in?" Angry Pie snapped at Twilight. "I couldn't score a hit without destroying one of Reargreed's children." "So?" "Do you want to be on the receiving end of an angry mother?" "It would be you," Angry Pie growled and coughed up blood, not yet completely regenerated. "You pay for hurting my baby, Swiftwing, you nag!" Reargreed growled. Cadence sighed. "Swiftwing was a puppet with your own magic. It didn't have a life, it didn't have a mind." "What right do you have to say what isn't and is alive? They're mine, mine, mine!" Reargreed magicked the stone Pegasus she wasn't standing on to nuzzle her as she lovingly put her hooves around their necks. Soft gray-yellow feathers gently fell around Cadence, turning into knives, razors, and switchblades as they fell. Cadence for a moment thought they were another illusion of Wirejack's until she felt one very real knife graze her side and sensed Fluttercruel's spiritual essence. The blade turned to stone when its magic touched her blood. "Now, Twilight!" Cruel shouted from high above, diving down. Tragedy fired another imitation of Cadence's beam attack, and Cadence teleported away, but the blade that had cut her side teleported with her and gave Fluttercruel a glaring signal to where she'd reappear. Fluttercruel drop-kicked her in the cut side, the blood making the bottom of her hooves turn to stone. Cruel ignored it and tore more feathers out of her own regenerating wings, turning them into daggers and corrugated knives. The weapons turned to stone as soon as they made contact with Cadence, but Fluttercruel had plenty where they came from. Fluttercruel grunted, shaking her head to try and clear the song's magic. Using the distraction, Cadence created a series of storm clouds above them using enhanced Pegasus magic. The lightning went straight for the massive metal weapons that Cruel had prepared to use before being stunned. She ignored the bloody stone weapons around Cadence, the gigavolts of electricity having fried her motor functions. Cadence blasted her in the gut with magic based on harmony, turning her stomach and secondary organs to stone. At that moment, a stone Pegasus came between them, doing a double inside-out loop followed by a rather majestic corkscrew that Cadence barely managed to avoid, distracted by the professional-looking acrobatics. She took the time to regenerate her own wounds, making a gamble by dividing her attention further. Fluttercruel hit the ground, the stone parts of her shattering and regenerating. "That's it, Soren dear, keep her busy just a bit! That's it, Soren dear, keep her busy just a bit!" Reargreed cheered on the collection of rocks shaped like a Pegasi. Her ever-glowing horn shined even more, and the destroyed pile of rocks that had been Swiftwing reshaped into a replica of a Pegasus mare with a fiery mane. Reargreed magicked it to fly up to her and nuzzle her gently, flapping its wings though her magic was what was lifting it up. "Go help your brother, Spitfire!" The collection of rocks was made to nod and flew at the alicorn, joining the other puppet. Cadence was thrown off her center, not from fighting two of Reargreed's children at once, but from the sickeningly familiar maneuvers and flight styles of the stone puppets. Every nuance, every motion was tethered to the names she had called the puppets. Realization and pity rippled through Cadence. "Your children are nothing more than replacements for those we'll never get back, aren't they?" Cadence was startled when the puppets ceased their attack and were made to look first at each other, then at Reargreed, all three for a moment seeming very shocked. "It's not true, baby, she's just saying that! Mommy loves you, don't give up!" Verigate said in the most heartfelt voice Twilight remembered her ever using. Even if you fall, you'll still be with Mommy! Puppets nodded and resumed their two-pronged assault. Littercurl got up, having fully healed. She cupped her hooves and shouted, Hey, Angry! How about some double teaming? Just remember, I might look like I'm having fun with you, but I won't be, Angry said, fully healed as well. Wouldn't have it any other way, Cruel grinned. Young mare, withdraw! Discord's voice bellowed through the air. Littercurl could have sworn he sounded concerned. You're joking, Master! That wasn't a suggestion! Discord roared. I can take her now! Littercurl pouted. Fine! She threw a miniature blizzard of throwing stars at Cadence's face, making a hasty retreat in the added confusion. Cadence, like any intelligent and long-lived alicorn with many enemies, had countless enchantments in place to prevent something or some pony from being teleported directly inside her, including a fireball being manifested directly in her lungs. This was annoying for Twilight, who for other such dangerous opponents could try to teleport inside her. Suicide for a normal pony, but being immortal did have its advantages. So she calculated a new strategy. No easy feat with the alicorn's enchanted song resonating in her ears, making it even more difficult for her to get her thoughts in order. After a moment of jumbled thought, she simply magicked up a pair of earplugs, surprised she had not thought of this before. Fluttercurl having been forced to abandon her weapons, Cadence telekinetically redirected throwing stars at Rarigreed, only for one of her children to quickly take the blow and throw them back at their actual target. It was only a matter of time before Cadence destroyed another of Rarigreed's children as she became reckless with grief. Larjack was still helping Trader Dash recover from Cadence's magic attack. Angry Pie was fully ready and could be teleported above Cadence if the alicorn was properly distracted to make a crushing blow. Distracted by Tombstone Imitation Wonderbolts? Yes, that worked. Sadly, that would have been the case if Rarigreed hadn't withdrawn her puppets at that moment. Onxbolt and Thunderflash, still flanking Rarigreed from atop their brother, shifted shape as Rarigreed's horn magic increased slightly for a moment, the rocks making up the imitation shifting about until they resembled an Earth Pony stallion with a slick mane and a unicorn stallion with a high-class mane style. They floated next to Rarigreed's ear as if to whisper into them. Yes, Filthy Rich, and you too, Fancy Pants. Mother has trust in her children, but this bad man might just be too much for you to handle. I can't imagine how I'm going to break the news to Tom about Swiftwing. No, I'll be careful. Her crown and armor will look simply lovely in the diamond room, don't you agree? I knew you would. Soaring Spitfire, come back to your mother! The stone ponies acted as though they were flying back as Rarigreed pulled them back towards her. Don't worry, Filthy, I'll steal your wife and children from Master's collection someday. She's doing all of this with telekinesis? Cadence thought. How is that even possible? Even Twilight's Reserve would be hard-pressed for this. Cadence was pushed out of her thoughts as she sensed the fireball, the lightning spell right behind it, and the shards of ice behind that. Oh no, you don't, Twilight! Cadence shouted as she redirected all three spells in a train around her, back towards their original position. Twilight teleported away right before the three spells annihilated the ground where she stood. Angry Pie came down from above her, but Cadence safely caught her out of range of her three flaying hooves, holding her up by her fourth limp one. Angry Pie hissed and snarled at her like a mad animal. Why are you even working for Discord, little pony? What do you have to gain from it? I don't know and I don't care! Discord's world is the kind of world where ponies learn not to laugh at anything because they know that it could happen to them next! I'll teach them to laugh at other ponies! You just contradicted yourself. You said you didn't know or care about your motive, but then you went along and gave one. Fuck you! Angry Pie disconnected her limp limb, and blood flowing, she swung from the disconnected leg with her forelegs and rammed her head into Cadence's chest like a freight train. Stop this isn't you! Twilight would never have made friends with a bully who hated laughing. You can bet your bacon it's me! I don't think so. A rock teleported next to Cadence. One first flash frozen with an ice spell, then superheated from within and teleported away the second before it exploded. This attack forced Cadence to drop Angry Pie, who by now had regenerated a new but still non-functional fourth leg. Pieces of stone, both white-hot and freezing cold, struck Cadence's body like shrapnel. Cadence sensed the next teleported rock and began to find an unpredictable pattern, the minefield coming into being as she flew chaotically. Cadence hastily split her mind between flying madly, magically healing the damage done to her body, and backtracking the teleportation spells to their source. Cadence's senses drew her to a stone-built Apollonian bakery alongside what had been a dirt road, the roof now burned down like every other building in the forest. She summoned a rainstorm low above the impact crater from Angry Pie's miss, then silently chased a lightning cloud above the bakery, whose cement blocks were vanishing one by one. She teleported the mass of water right between the black cloud that blended perfectly with the smoke, and where the roof had once been, and a second later had the lightning unleash its payload. Blah 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 blah! Twilight tragedy lit up like a Christmas tree, her earplugs popping out. The lightning didn't stop even as Tragedy's brain was overloaded. Finally, the light show ended, and Tragedy stood smoking, the remote minefield is still over. She didn't move a muscle, with a look of faint surprise and awe on her face, then rolled her eyes to the back of her head and clapped, very much unconscious. Cadence looked down at Angry Pie, whose bonus had finished resetting. Cadence's eyes and horns glowed, and light blue chains burst out of the ground like snakes and wrapped around Angry Pie until she was concealed like a mummy, keeping her perfectly balanced and immobile. A peaceful and warm hymn vibrated through the chains directly into Angry Pie's brain, mollifying the mad pony like any savage beast soothed by music. Probably the most calm she'd been in centuries. Enjoy the peace you've longed for, Cadence whispered. Cadence looked at Discord a mile off, using Spike as a couch, Fluttercruel having joined him, sulking as she munched a bucket of rabbit McNuggets while her master shoveled popcorn into his mouth. Queen Cadence flew straight for him. Discord stopped feeding his face. Cadence cut the time very short by teleporting halfway. Discord's eyes widened and grabbed Fluttercruel and reared his arm back, so that Fluttercruel could grab Spike's tail and hold on tight as Discord swung and Fluttercruel let go, throwing the dragon right at Cadence. Cadence had been prepared for dodging a cursing Fluttercruel, not a gasping dragon. Her altered flight path did not adjust enough, and the impact sent them both crashing into the ground. Cadence sensed Discord teleport away along with Fluttercruel. Now, Spiky Wikey, don't go damaging your jewelry. I want it! Yes, Birdie. Spike sighed through the enchanted straps, keeping his jaw closed. I'm sorry, Cadence. Not your fault, Spike, Cadence said under tons of dragon flesh and teleported out from under him. Come, my babies, we'll fight together, Rurigreed declared. The remains of the artifact that had empowered the changelings in Avalon, along with Soren, Spitfire, Filthy Wrist, and Fancy Pants, and her steed, broke apart and, still glowing from her magic, covered her like a winged suit of armor with emblems like the faces of Camelot of elite ponies from 1,000 years ago. This armor made her twice the size of Cadence. The dizzy and hurt Spike made no effort to aid or hinder the mad unicorn, only looking upon her with sad eyes. The glow never stopped, ever, each piece of rock being gripped and animated by Rurigreed's horn magic. How are you doing this? Cadence asked. She doubted even Rurigreed's magic or her elemental chaos could empower her this much. Rurigreed spoke in a sensual tone, like the touch of each dirty rock brought nirvana. All that I want, I take, and I want it all. My treasures are mine, my babies are mine. I lay claim to all that falls within my sight. To take what I want, that is my right. Cadence astonished herself for expecting a straight answer out of the madmare. Afraid? Yes, but not for myself. I fear for my subjects and the uncertain future they must build for themselves. I have faith in them, and I wasn't lying when I said no matter what, I would forever walk among them, and with them. And I fear for you, lost in Discord's sway. I was blind, naive, stupid, and serving to parasites before I was introduced to Tom. Massa just gives me all the best treasures. Your treasures are rocks, and your family are puppets, made to replace the one thing you want more than anything, but can never get back. Die, liar! Pieces of the armor flew off like bullets as Rurigreed did a tornado kick at Cadence's neck. They live! Cadence blocked it with a wing. The ground beneath her gave way inches deep. The queen felt a radiant calm wash over her. I see through each and every one of you. You take back what you said about my jewels! The pony who has confused all truths for painful truths, and deception and falsehoods for the mercy and love for her friends she truly feels. Cadence froze the stones around Rurigreed's right rear leg, shattering them. A pony terrified of choices and decisions, heart frozen in indecision, because she can recognize the value of everyone and refuses to face the pain of losing anyone. Rurigreed screamed and brought her front right hoof down Cadence's head. It stopped dead when it touched the tip of her horn, and Cadence spread her light blue magic through it, canceling out Rurigreed's own telekinesis. The rocks fell to the ground, lifeless. The pony who has felt one emotion for so long that she knows nothing else, wishes to know nothing else, can know nothing else, because she has mistaken happiness for weakness, and believes the only way to not be an innocent child is to act as a hateful child. Rurigreed hissed and fired her wings at Cadence, the small rocks as uncountable as an insect swarm. They stopped midway, half colored at Cadence's shade of blue and the other half Rurigreed's. Alicorn and the unicorn struggled. Cadence was very surprised at how much force Rurigreed had, but she was still a goddess. The rocks reversed course into Rurigreed's armor and stabbed her exposed parts. Ow! Don't test, Mommy! A pony lost so long in the darkness. She just wants it to end so the monster given her body can bring no more misery on Equestria, and she can finally enter my father's heart. Enough! Rurigreed relentlessly swung her forehooves at the alicorn, her motions a blur, screaming her lungs out in frustration. Cadence was equally deft in her dodges and blocks of Rurigreed's onslaught. And you, who has become so fixated on the tiny trivial trinkets around her that you can't see the real treasure staring her in the face! Cadence froze several of the stones around her, covering Rurigreed in them before superheating them an instant later. The explosion was muted perfectly by the soundproof force field that Cadence created in a sphere around the pony before detonation. Rurigreed fell, her rock armor burying her as her telekinesis fell with her consciousness. Look after her, Cadence told Spike, who nodded. Cadence teleported to Twilight's side, the little pony still unconscious. Not being naive to the danger surrounding her, she raised a force field around herself and Twilight for their protection. And my little pony, who taught me so much, even as I taught her. So frustrated that ponies aren't as easy to read as books. A little filly who loved to learn and loved her family, but considered friends to be excess. A flower who had only started to bloom, stricken to her core by the loss of her very first friends. Cadence touched her horn to Twilight Tragedy's head. Please remember. A dozen tiny hearts floated around the alicorn before flowing into the unicorn. Twilight Sparkle blinked her eyes open and looked up at her full-hood sitter. Cadence, The bright purple pony blinked away tears. I'm so sorry, I'm so happy, I'm so scared, I'm so happy to see you! Cadence got up and they hugged each other. And it's wonderful to see you too, Twilight. All the things I did, everything I thought, it wasn't you, Twilight. But it was. I didn't want to feel anything, I didn't want to think anything, I didn't want to be anything! It's all right, we can talk later, I promise. But first let's go help the others. Right, Twilight nodded vigorously. Let's end this once and for all. They looked into each other's eyes, smiled, and said together, Sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake! Clap your hooves and do little 6 black rods impaled Queen Cadence's body, the first shattering her force field so the others could follow, striking the moment her focus was fully on Twilight. They skewered through her at odd angles and impeded into the ground. Holding onto one black rod was an element of chaos. Discord himself, wearing a hazmat suit, held the first one that had pierced her shield. The dragon beat into a pulp behind a silencing barrier, moaned desperately, trying to force his broken arms, legs, tail, and wings to move, and failing. Urgreed scowled like a mother looking at someone who had harmed her child. Angry Pie gave a growl that could have been a sigh. Fluttercrew grinned maniacally. Discord grinned even bigger. Liarjack hid her eyes behind her hat. Trader Dash leaned her gut against the end of the rod, her face tear-stained, mortified. Thanks for the distraction, my Twilight tragedy, Discord said in casual praise, giving one of his deep, bone-chilling chuckles. Twilight's eyes were huge. Her legs were shaking. Blood of her horn sparked and sputtered, but no spells could form in her panicked and horrified mind. Cadence tried to light her horn, but she felt like the rods were literally feeding off her magic. Twilight! Cadence tasted something metallic in her mouth. She coughed and red liquid came forth. Her lungs were pierced. She no longer had the ability to sing. Even breathing was ripping them apart. Don't listen to him. It's not your fault. Run! Run where, Queen Cadence? As of today, I own the world. I can make you into a platinum statue to be used as bait for an epic rescue tap for your followers that'll backfire spectacularly on me. Nah, let's skip that. Master? 3 of his minions asked, confused. As far as saviors go. He gave a sick grin and raised his paw. A small sphere of red light appeared in his palm. He floated behind the back of her head. Cadence quickly lifted the slaves who had spoken. I forgive. You're only second-rate! A torrent of red light rampaged forth, annihilating her flesh, leaving her blackened skeleton visible for a moment before that too was torn down past its base atoms. Her crown, horseshoes, and harness fell, tarnished and scarred. Mine! Rarity instinctively claimed her trophies. Don't you touch— Oh, be quiet! Discord snapped his fingers, and Twilight's jaw fused together, and her mouth vanished. About time someone shut her up, Angry Pie grumbled, looking to where Cadence had existed only a moment before. Damn it. I'll deal with you in a minute, Discord said simply to Twilight Sparkle. When Discord had slew Cadence, the lower part of her legs had been missed. Fluttercruel took one by the bone and tore into the flesh. Twilight Sparkle's eyes quivered as their hooves were suddenly encased in cement blocks. Tears streamed more and more down her face. Liarjack kept her hat over her face as much as she could, but she turned toward Twilight. It's all right, Twilight. This is all just a nightmare. You're gonna wake up soon, she said, likely the most unconvincing lie she'd ever told, even as she poured her heart into it. Hey! Fluttercruel stopped and turned around slowly towards Trader Dash. I bet you want some of this, don't you, Dashy? No, you can... Dash looked green. Oh, come on now, don't be shy! She tackled Dash and straddled her. Open wide! And began to force-feed her. Trader Dash vomited. Curl forced it down again. Stop it! Leave her alone! An already crying Liarjack screamed, leaping at Fluttercruel, her back to her with a leg she was holding. She was hit so hard her jaw broke. Who asked you? Oh, right, no one, so shut up! Dash's body went limp. To Fluttercruel's annoyance, she had stopped forming. One thought pulsed in her mind. I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve this. You know, this is hard on me too, Twilight. Discord put a sympathetic arm around Twilight Sparkle. I didn't even get to play with her like I did a sister of hers, Galaxia. It's a story full of happiness and wonder and joy for me. Twilight's entire body shook. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her thoughts fell apart before she could even form them. The mad scene before her replayed in her brain over and over and over and over and over and over. Oh, don't be sad, Twilight. Time to wake up. Or maybe go back to sleep. Hard to tell which is which anymore, isn't it? You don't need to feel anything anymore. Twilight felt the gray. Twilight did not resist the gray. Twilight reveled in the gray. Twilight embraced the gray. Twilight wanted the gray. Twilight was the gray. And every single bit of that is totally and utterly false and not the least bit true, Liarjack declared, her forehead visibly shaking, face hidden behind her hat as best she could. Twilight Tragedy thought over everything she had heard and asked, But wait, how did you know that part between Cadence and Chrysalis? Maybe I got it out of a changeling Queen Cadence told and felt it out of the narrative, maybe. And the thoughts of the others? Maybe they went and told me because they knew no pony would believe a liar if I told to any pony. Maybe. I see, Tragedy replied as the night shifted to day again. A couple mad ponies outside the castle had a one-sneaker cheese war, with the prize being a lifetime supply of singing pickles in a 7-sided Tupperware box with a matching Gazorna plat. The sea ponies were cheering for Team Mayonnaise, while Team Felt Tip Pen had a decent cult following. They were currently leading by 3 whippers to 5 jabberwocks. A sea pony cult took the chance to steal a kiss from the sea pony waterflower. So that's why all those changelings were willing to die just to steal some bones. And where those dented pieces of armor Rarity keeps underneath her room's floor stones came from. And why changeling flames are yellow when they used to be blue, and some of them before that had been green. Nope. And I'm not sorry in the least for telling you, and it's a bad thing you're not feeling anything rather than feeling sad or angry. I see. She did not feel any of those things, but she did feel dizzy and hot, and her stomach muscles were making strange contractions, and her vision was slightly blurry. Her hips were shaking when she tried to be still. What was happening to her? Thank you, Lyrajack. Thank you. I believe I wish to rest before Master's visit to the opera. What do I think of my 6 little ponies? I don't think I've ever been actually asked that before, and I can't say I've given it all that much thought either. Well, might as well go down the list, right? Give me a moment to think here. This is harder than I thought. First there's Lyrajack, of course, my first one. Oh, just where did I go wrong with her? What happened to the shameless, gratuitous, prolific, pathological liar who would lie through her teeth about her own accomplishments, and accuse others of wrongdoings that never happened, and deny having just wronged a friend to that friend? Instead, I get a pony who spent the last 1,000 years playing nurse to the whole lot of them, no matter how much they abuse her. She just keeps smiling and wanting to see them happy. Even her last Twilight are done out of love. Ugh. She's got the mechanics down, but she just hasn't embraced the spirit. How could she have gone so terribly wrong? I envisioned her juggling the elements in front of Twilight, beautifully asking what elements as she was begged to hand them over. Now she just smiles and nods at everything Arrogant says. She's even started wearing dresses and moving like a lady. She's hanging around her so much. And she acts like replacement Fluttershy to Trader Dash. She dares to talk back to Fluttercrew, and just stands there and takes me beating Angry Pie gives her without flinching. Oh, Angry Pie, she was truly a success. I completely outdid myself. A few well-placed lies in her own beautiful and majestic backwards brain did the rest. A total success, a complete success. Maybe too much a success. I crushed her little heart. I turned her oh so serious. Maybe a little too serious. I took that little ball of fun and predictability and randomness and turned her into a one-note lump of aimless fury that beats to death anything that gets in her way. Regrets, Ma? I'm the absurd one around here. Gods don't feel regret. It's in our job description, right after a fundamental law of the universe and before the dawn of time. When I kept Lulu from vaporizing her from time and space, I knew she was kindred spirit, a being of randomness and disorder, just like me. She and Surprise were truly best pony, and Surprise stopped pranking me as a challenge like I would. It was so much fun. It's little wonder Pinky absorbing her shadow yielded to such a beautiful ball of chaos. Then she had to go and get involved in those elements of non-nonsense. Why couldn't that stupid wall-eyed Pegasus have gotten the job instead? I had the names picked out for her first half-dozen kids and the ideas for the cloning mirror after turning/brainwashing Mrs. Cake into the perfect left-ear nanny and Mr. Cake into a good and willing nurse mare. Had to toss out those plans. I'd let her name her first one, though. Now those rooms are filled with Rare Grade's children. Maybe I should start charging her rent. Rare Grade. Credit where credit is due. She's managed to make a joke fresh for 1,000 years. She deserves a medal. In fact, I'll give her one. Now where is... she took that already. My bad. I could have easily created Unreal Diamond to draw out her inner vice. Oh, she's no Fluttercrew. That greed was always there. I just got her to stop denying it and embrace it like an old lover. She should thank me. So yes, I could have given her a real diamond, but this was far more funny. Except we seem to have lost our way to the punchline. At least she's come up with plenty of new and fascinating ways to tell the joke in the meantime. She still knows gold and jewels when she sees them, it's just that rocks are everywhere, so of course she stops to pick them up. It wouldn't be very greedy if she didn't take everything of value she laid her eyes on, after all. And she's taken the joke in directions I didn't think she could. I guess I'm just curious as to where she could possibly take it next. The making stone golems to be the family she could never have thing? That was all her. And what a wonderful little joke she came up with. And next is Trader Dash. Oh, she's never stopped being fun. So arrogant with her, I'll always be loyal to the princess, thinking loyalty is something that can't be broken. Oh yes, I enjoyed seeing her squirm, her oath that her devotion to Sully would never end, breaking in a matter of seconds with just the right choice pushed in front of her muzzle, with no neat and tidy third option to latch onto like these ponies are always so blindly expecting. If she'd chosen the other choice, well, then I would have shown her hometown crumbling before her eyes thanks to her choice on a high-depth plasma screen. Like I said, she doesn't get to eat her cake and have it too. Her loyalty to Sully was always going to end sooner or later. Tartarus or high water would come along and she'd have to choose. That's how life is. Those are the rules, which I admit I hate on principle. And after all this, she still doesn't get it, so I get to enjoy watching her squirm and break over and over and over. And she tries to cheat and finds out the world is ready to cheat right back. Let her find neat and tidy black and white solutions and third options wrapped up in a pretty bow now. She spent 300 years trying to cheat and find third options to my games until she finally got a clue. And it's funny, for being technically by default my least loyal subordinate, she's easily become my most effective with the right carrot and stick. Tell that Fluttercrew and I feed you to the Paris Sprites. I couldn't have come up with a more unfitting name. Ben's irony. I'll admit that was the one thing about Rhoda Fortuna I like, that Alicorn knows her irony. Oh, Twilight, 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 my dear Twilight strategy. So smart, so devoted, so logical. Even when under the sway of ultimate chaos, she's still writing out spreadsheets and, organizing things. I think I could remove her brain and replace it with marbles and molasses, and she'd still be writing out her timetable between staring at the wall and scribbling meaningless mad mantras. At least she's efficient and proven over and over and over and over to be a good debugger. Yes, over and over. Never ending. Nothing! Just thinking, like I said, I haven't given these much thought. Yes, I enjoy yanking her chain, knowing it'll take less than a thought for me to restore her to her proper and discordant state no matter how many times it happens, or where it happens, or how it happens. It's a great joke. If you can't see that, then you're a prude. I just wish she'd lighten up. She has such a delightful inner crazy to bring out. I know it's there. Instead, she keeps up her loyal zombie-like following. I've never been able to get her true crazy to come out in her, no matter how many ways I've tried. She was so fixated on order, she was on the verge of falling into chaos. Ugh, she's a sad and broken toy, not the cheerful and giddy maniac I knew she could have been. At least she does an admirable job of keeping things interesting, and she's fun at parties. Derpy hooves, am I really going to turn her daughter back from a muffin as soon as she finishes her 7 trillion laps around the castle? Of course! Oh, come on, believe me. Cross the thing that pumps my blood, hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye. Jeez. If I had a pound of my family, I would. And the old lady hates having her name taken in vain. Just ask, oh, that's right, you can't, he never existed. Anyway, I'm just going to offer to restore her other daughter if she does another 9 trillion laps around the castle, the number being cut in half if her little unicorn promises to trot them with her mother. I'll figure out the interesting details later. Having her hold around a statue would be so boring. I've tried that joke before. After that, I think I'll crown all 3 my court jesters or something. Strangely, no pony has the last for the job, and they've all given me some good laughs. I could use some non-insane, non-ironic clowns. For right now, she makes a good timepiece going around the castle. Not that I really need one, but it's the thought that counts. Spiky Wikey, what about him? I've turned door-to-door sales ponies into vacuum cleaners more interesting than him. He'd barely even make a good dragon. Whenever I'm not giving him the honor of carrying my perfect bod where I choose, when I choose, how I choose, he just sits waiting for Twilight to give him the next scrub down. I swear, it's like he's just waiting to die of old age now. I've tried turning him into something else, but he always acts the same way. If Twilight won't enjoy Crazyland, her accessory doesn't get to either, it seems. I think one of these days I'll teleport him into one of Reargreed's rooms, kick his ordering instinct into overdrive, and watch them go at it. They'll either end each other or end up making out on top of the pile of rocks. Will be entertaining at least. You think Reargreed would have more in common with Spike now, after all? Greed runs through both their veins. Yes, I think I will do that. When's the next Pancake Rain Day? I'll have Derpy compose a sonnet equal to 30,000 laughs just for the 2 of them as they fight each other or get started on a new race of mutant dragon ponies. Honestly, I'm not sure which outcome I'm hoping for more. Which do you think? Dragon Force Dragons Rule or Dance with the Sugar Plum Breezy as background music? I think I'll double the lap worth if she can mix them together perfectly with the poem. What, you're surprised I enjoy music? The spirit of disharmony can't have its guilty pleasures. I missed one? Who? Oh, Fluttercrew. I try not to think of her too much as my minion. Have to give her space to find out who she is, after all. She's grown into such a fine young mare, always ready to help me spread havoc and anarchy across the land, just when you think there's no havoc or anarchy left to spread. It warms my heart. She was always so cute when she's pressed the throats of ponies trying to appeal to the poor, scared Fluttershy inside. She had the most carefree look on her face when I gave her a hamster her to toy with on her birthday. It was never seen again. The day she first learned that trick of making her feathers into weapons, I was so proud of her. I have the biggest downpour of the most bitter chocolate rain imaginable just for her. It may or may not drown a few ponies, but that's the way the ball bounces. Now she's become a pretty young mare who cuts her way through whole towns, making the most cuddly laughter. Though I wish she'd have more diversity. There are so many horizons she isn't even trying to explore. It saddens me to see her not opening up to all the diversity and uniqueness of chaos. I don't know where she gets it. It took me centuries to get her to realize that killing ends the game, and when the game ends, there's no fun left to be had. She had so much trouble grasping that ponies aren't infinite, and more importantly, that every pony is unique, so beautifully unique. Each with their own fears, desires, insecurities, pet peeves, phobias, manias, dark sides, vices, and so many other wonderfully special things. But it felt so satisfying when she finally understood. I still need to teach her that collateral damage is only fun if it's not on purpose, though. She never wears the dresses I give her. And always wears the ones she makes herself. Do you think I'm imposing too much on her individuality? She might just be pushing back to prove she's her own person to me. Maybe it's not just one-on-one time I need to give her. Maybe I should get more involved in what she wants to do, rather than forcing her to get involved in what I want. Now, where's my battle axe of singing plaid madness? I'll tell her as a surprise after we've had our outing to the Sea Pony Opera. Where's the tuxedo pony Thulu sent me for my last birthday? That might be too insanity-inducing for the Sea Ponies. I really need to expand my wardrobe.